We'll talk about Bill Wyman. Put a little Rolling Stones on in the background from the early days. Bill Wyman, born George William Perks in 1936. He's an English musician, producer, singer-songwriter, bassist for the Rolling Stones from 1962 to 1993. He is a photographer, has kept a journal since he was a child, I would say after World War II. He published 7 books. He's an amateur archaeologist. He's a metal detector, a history buff, and a collector of artifacts and memorabilia from corners of the world of rock and beyond. Born in London, his dad was a bricklayer, one of 5 children. He grew up in Penge, West London, a very rough neighborhood, but he took piano lessons from age 10. At 18, he was playing bass in a London band, the Cliftons. In 1961, he used a stage name, Lee Wyman, later Bill, taken from a friend he had when he was in national service in the RAF from 55 to 57. He legally changed his surname to Wyman in 1964. Why? He became the 6th and final piece in the R&B great band known as the Rolling Stones. In 1962, he replaced Dick Taylor. Brian, Keith, and Mick, and Charlie, and Stu had been sidestepping for Giorgio Gomelski on the fringes of London's blues scene, the birthplace of the Blues Breakers and the Yardbirds, and soon the Rolling Stones, who became pop artists when Lou Oldham became their manager. Everyone knows the story, how cheeky Brian Jones went slumming in search of a band only to turn up Mick and Keith, how Charlie became the reluctant drummer on the whim of helping his ragtag teabag blues band with the lanky horse-faced singer who somehow radiated menace and appeal. For that matter, they were all about gaunt and underfed, except pianist Stu, who stuck out because he looked normal. Actually, too normal. They were lucky. They became the antithesis of the other English band who boasted Pretty Paul, Zany Johnny, Silver, Dark Horse, Teenage Guitar Whiz George, and Dreamboat Ted Pete. That's Pete Best. His name's not Ted. That's what they called the tough kids back in those days. Until Ringo clicked into place, drumming brilliantly and not so handsome either, that he would upstage the others. So yeah, get yourself a drummer with a large nose if you want the little ladies in the audience to keep their eyes on you. But back to the Stones and Bill Wyman. When they followed the Fabs to the U.S., the teen screamers didn't know what to make of them. Compared to the oh-so foreign pinup Cockney and Illuminati to be, the Stones were lewd, loud, raucous, and even more other-esque. Girls were stunned silent, and boys like me were revolted. Brian looked like a blonde rat. Keith reminded us of George a little, but more ill-bred. Mick was a maniac with a pout and a bulge. Charlie was quiet in the back, drumming only enough to keep time, and also strange-faced. But unlike his mates, Polite, we never saw Stu. He was kept secreted just up off stage, playing piano. 6 was too many, is what Andrew Logan said. But their sound required a honky-tonk piano. Now we come to Bill, and he frightened us. He held his instrument vertically. He had dark beetle bangs, a sad countenance. He stood still as the others gyrated around, and he had a countenance of beauty, but on the inside, dour and mature. How could he even be a pop star? He looked bored but alert simultaneously. His bass lines were, well, basic, and we noticed him because he was odd. Not a face like the one in the teen mags. He looked like a gangster, but so English. And he was also a nice guy. No airs like Mick and Keith. No sick leers like Randy, Brian. Bill and Charlie were gentlemen, just not handsome gentlemen. But as they aged, they both became handsome indeed. Never the louts peeing on the side of the garage. Never the druggy headlines and notorious party animals. But Bill Wyman was a ladies' man, but dignified. Always dignified. You understand, this isn't me now today. I love the Stones in each of their lineups. But when I was a wide-eyed and impressionable youth, I just didn't understand what people saw in them. They weren't the Beatles, or the Ventures, or the Monkees. The Stones were not for boys. They were for girls, for 20-somethings, and then in time, they were for everyone. And Bill Wyman became my favorite Stone. I'm a bassist / drummer myself. I love rock music, and Bill's story is the most interesting. He was there. He saw it. He saw it all. Through the eyes of a keen observer, a student of human nature, and he was willing to share what he saw and how he felt about it. Not for nothing, Bill was the eldest Stone. Not well known, but he also did backing vocals on the early records, and up until '67, live as well. In Another Land, on Satanic Majesty's request, was written and was released as a single, his first. He sang on Lady Jane, The Last Time, It's All Over Now, 19th Nervous Breakdown, Mother's Little Helper, Time Is On My Side, Under My Thumb, Satisfaction, Painted Black. Downtown Susie, that was his lead vocal, and he wrote the line, Brian also sang backing vocals until Andrew Loog Oldham fixated upon Mick and Keith as his Lennon/McCartney singer-songwriter team-up. Bill was close to Brian Jones. They usually shared a room on tour. They clubbed together. When Jones died, Bill was the most shaken. Only he and Charlie Watts showed up for Brian's funeral, adding to speculation that Keith and Mick were somehow involved in Brian's tragic falling out with the band. Bill saw it all, of course, and he wrote it the fuck down, is what he did. Bill was close to Mick Taylor, also Brian's replacement. Mick Taylor had much to say about the time he was with the Stones, and it's not all good, not by a long shot. Some of this appeared in Bill's 1990 autobiography, Stone Alone, and his 2002 book, Rolling with the Stones. Wyman wrote the famous riff to Jumpin' Jack Flash with Jones and Watts. Wyman says that I Can't Get No Satisfaction was almost rejected as a single by Mick and Keith. Why? They didn't think it would be commercial. In 1981, Wyman's single CC, Je suis un rockstar, went top 26 in several countries in Europe. After the Stones' Steel Wheels tour in 89 and 90, Wyman left. His decision wasn't announced until 1993. Ever since, the Stones have continued with Darryl Jones on bass. He's a hired gun. There was an attempt to get Bill back in 2013, but he didn't want to. In 2011, an Ian Stewart tribute album was released, Boogie for Stu, and Bill played on 2 tracks, Roomin' House, Boogie, and Watching the River Flow, the latter with the Rolling Stones. But that's it. I'm gonna say that Bill left the Stones because he couldn't see spending his whole life doing it. He wanted more. He also didn't think a band like the Stones should go on and on. They'd shot their load, so to speak. And Bill was sick of it all. All that shit. He saw no use in doing what Mick and Keith have done. That's the on-again, off-again love affairs, the drugs, the tabloids, the jet-setting, the hangers-on, and I don't think he liked the music very much. Uh-oh. No ads, guys. Thank you. Did he ever like the music a lot? Sure, but enough to play the hits live every 5 or 50 years in every country that would have them? No. It was great for a long while, not forever. It was Keith, more than Mick Jagger, who overdid the hedonism which defined him, as he was addicted to heroin and cocaine for many years. He was the instigator, the Captain Jack Sparrow the guy who took Anita Pallenberg away from Brian Jones, as if he were inconsequential. That was the beginning of the end of Brian, who already was flirting death with his own drug abuse. But Brian was not as strong as Keith. Constitutionally, physically, drugs destroyed them both, but Brian did not survive. Keith will outlive us all. He was the toughest stone, and maybe the bluesiest. Actually, yes, the bluesiest. His talent for the kind of guitar that he provides is peerless. His lead rhythm riffing is the constant in the Stones. No matter who fills the shoes of his shadow, Keith is black. Keith is magical. Keith would never be denied. Damn the torpedoes. Bill Wyman and Keith Richards were not close. Bill looked into the future, saw nothing wholesome, and opted for a Jagger/Richardless world for himself and for us, the fans. And this was an adverting of further tragedy. You see why Wyman's my favorite? And he is my favorite. And he has gone on to do some music in his own band. He's very well known in the music pantheon, very well respected. Still a ladies' man, been married several times. Doesn't really hold his bass vertically anymore. I think that was just an affectation they did with the Rolling Stones in the early days. You know, holding it like a contrabass in an orchestra. And it was Bill Wyman, when he joined the Stones, who had a nice bass and a good amplifier, and the others didn't have that. That's why one of the reasons he got chosen, one of the reasons he became a Stone. He doesn't regret being a Stone, don't get me wrong. I mean, it made him a very rich man, for one thing. But other than that, I believe he would have liked to have a little more creativity recognized. And he didn't just want to be part of a rhythm section. You know, Bill Wyman and Charlie Watts were the rhythm section of the Stones. Really not out in front very much at all. They even relegated Brian Jones to the back row, didn't they? Where's Bill? Let's see if we can get a good shot of Bill to go out on here. Oh, that was John Lennon. What's he doing there? He's having a good time, it looks like. Yeah, Bill's way over here. I think. Camera doesn't even go on him. It's not right. Mick, it's just not right. Sympathy for the devil, you devil. Paint it black, my friend and cohort. Thank you for getting off of heroin, Mick. And thank you, Keith, for getting so many blood transfusions that he got new blood running through his veins, so that's why. Here we go. Okay, Keith's gonna put his pajamas on here. Oh, great. Well, I guess now's a good time to say thank you for being with me and my show with no name. I know this is a long one, but you know, the WYMAN, right? Okay. I'll see y'all next time. Be good to each other.